Hi. Today I'd like to talk about the work of James Dyson. James Dyson is a British designer, entrepreneur, inventor. Somebody whose face you're probably familiar with from the advertising in this country of his own products. James is an interesting character for a variety of different reasons. He is a very good designer. He was born in 1947. He graduated in 1970 from the Royal College of Art in London, but interestingly his education, his degree from the Royal College was in furniture design and interior design, not in industrial design or engineering. So his ability to become a design engineer is largely self-taught and results as the culmination of a whole series of very persistent individual development activities. He worked for a number of different companies in the kind of design development field when he left the RCA, but his first major activity was to design and manufacture the ball barrow. The ball barrow was set up to be a better wheelbarrow. It had a big ball at the front so it didn't sink into soft ground. It had a moulded plastic bucket so that you could clean it easily. And the only way that he could get it produced was to set up and manufacture it and market it himself. So he did that for a while, so that was successful, and then moved on to other things. And the other thing that really prompted most of his professional life, most of his development, was a eureka moment he had whilst vacuum cleaning the house one day, when he found that the conventional bag vacuum cleaner that he used was not working very well. The reason it wasn't working very well is because all those vacuum cleaners work on the basis of sucking air and dust through pores in a bag, and the pores in the bag trap the dust in the bag and let the air through. Trouble is, the pores in the bag clog up very quickly, and that renders the efficiency of the vacuum cleaner a lot less. So he had been looking at the design of cyclonic dust extractors for one of his factories, and then came up with the idea of exploring whether or not that technology could be achieved on a domestic level to produce a vacuum cleaner that didn't lose suction. That was his motivation. So this is a diagram of the cyclone principle. The air is sucked into the cyclone, it's speeded up around getting on for 950 miles an hour. The dust is thrown out to the outside by centrifugal force and collects, and then the air is vented to the outside. So there's nothing to clog up, no replacement bags to have to find, and so on. So as a principle, it's a very elegant one. But it took a very long time for him to get this to work on a domestic scale and get it to work effectively. Over a period of about 5 or 6 years, he made of the order of 5,000 prototypes to actually get the cyclone principle working properly. And that's an indication of the kind of persistence that is necessary to bring bright ideas to market, to turn bright ideas into workable products. This is a graph that shows how the suction performance of conventional vacuum cleaners diminishes over time, and the suction performance of the Dyson remains the same. It's the yellow line at the top of the graph. Having got a cyclone that worked, he then went through a number of years of trying to license the idea to companies in Europe, in Britain, in Japan and in the US. And I think this was largely a very frustrating activity, which is well documented in his book, Against the Odds. That really sums up the kind of approach that he felt it was taking. It's very frustrating. A number of times companies stole ideas from him and brought them to market himself, so he had to go and sue them through patent litigators and so on. And this period was really extremely frustrating. The first company to actually agree to make the product was a company in Japan who marketed a version of the cyclone cleaner called the G-Force. This was actually quite expensive, the order of £1,500, £2,000 at the time. So it was a very, very expensive cleaner, been designed in a very particular way, using colours that weren't associated with vacuum cleaners at the time. And it's actually sold in reasonable numbers to give the company and give him some experience of producing this thing in quantity. But the battles with Other companies for patent infringement and so on went on. But conveniently, the settlement of one of those cases actually gave him the money to set up and manufacture himself. And that was what he then determined to do, having been so frustrated by the problems of working with other people in that respect. So the first upright Dyson cleaner, the DC-01, was produced. And this was something that was marketed almost entirely on the grounds of its performance and its superior performance relative to conventional cleaners. The advertising and the marketing around the product gloried in all the details of how it adjusted, how effectively it worked, the convenience of different kind of hose attachments and arrangements and so on. There's a very deliberate emphasis on how efficient and effective the product was, demonstrating real features and real benefits. And one of the things he did was to put his phone number, or the company's phone number, on every cleaner. So if you had a problem with it, it was very easy to ring them up and say, I've got a problem, and they deal with it. And that kind of identification of the company and the product was, again, unusual within this field. What they also found was that this was a vacuum cleaner that was attractive to people who wouldn't normally think of themselves using vacuum cleaners and certainly wouldn't want to go out and buy one. So this also became a yuppie cleaner. This was the cleaner that young males felt they could actually use around their apartments and so on without feeling as if they'd sold out in any way. And the success of the DC-01, which, although it started off as the most expensive vacuum cleaner on the British market, actually soon became the most popular vacuum cleaner on the British market, spawned the development of a whole range of other cleaners and other products. So the upright DC-02 and its various generations, the ball barrow, which is actually a marriage of the ball from his original design for the ball barrow with the cyclone principle. And the consequence of this, relentless invention of new and different and more effective devices, meant that the sales that the company enjoyed accelerated, whilst the sales of the companies producing conventional products and conventional cleaners in this field actually stayed stagnant. In 2002, he came to the USA. 2006, he was made Sir James Dyson by the Queen. And they have produced since then a range of other products in other areas. This was their robotic vacuum cleaner, which was really ahead of its time and really a bit more expensive than people wanted to pay for the convenience of robotic vacuum cleaning. So not really a great success. But the washing machine, something which did work effectively, it continues the principle of making something efficient that people will then pay more money for. And this actually has a front loader with two contra-rotating drums, so you get a lot more agitation of the clothes in the wash water and a lot more cleaning power as a result. And probably my favourite invention of his, because it tackles something that nobody else had really managed to achieve, which is how you dry your hands in a public toilet with a hot air dryer. Having had the same experience as the rest of us with the ineffectiveness of conventional hot air dryers, he designed the air blade, which uses a very high speed curtain of air coming from the yellow section at the top, which you draw your hands through, and it literally blasts the water off your hands. It works really well, and it's an example of looking for a situation where products can be improved and applying invention and innovation to doing that. The story of his cleaner is in the book, Doing a Dyson. Doing a Dyson in Britain actually means two things. It means hoovering, cleaning the floors using a cleaner, and it also means, in the professional world, setting up from being a designer to becoming a manufacturer. And that was something that he particularly brought to the professional field. More examples of other things about a very interesting character in the world of design, technology, business and invention.